Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
Evidence accumulates quietly, while opinions rise and fall, while narratives bend to comfort. Effort leaves a trail that cannot be argued with. Every hour invested shapes muscle, judgment, and temperament in ways excuses cannot erase. You can hide intention, you can decorate ambition with language, but labor reveals the truth with surgical precision. When pressure arrives, only preparation answers. Nothing else survives the test. That is why reality feels brutal to those who avoid effort and strangely fair to those who embrace it. The ledger is always balanced, even when the payment is delayed. Discipline changes the nervous system before it changes outcomes. The body learns reliability through repetition. The mind stops bargaining when it understands that action follows commitment automatically. This is why people who grind consistently move with calm, while others oscillate between bursts of hope and collapse. Stability is not a personality trait, it is trained. Each completed task becomes proof. Each avoided task becomes debt. Over time, confidence stops being emotional and becomes structural. You trust yourself because you have data, not because you feel inspired. Illusions thrive in environments where effort is optional. Comfort allows fantasy to coexist with stagnation. You can believe you are capable without ever testing it. That illusion shatters the moment reality demands performance. Preparation does not panic in that moment. It steps forward. This is why those who train when no one is watching appear lucky later. The luck is visible. The hours behind it are not. That invisibility fools observers into thinking success appeared suddenly, when it was actually assembled piece by piece under silence. Consistency rewires identity. You stop asking who you could become and start behaving as someone dependable. That shift removes internal friction. Decisions get simpler. You no longer debate whether to act. You act because that is what you do. This is not obsession. It is alignment. Energy that was wasted on hesitation gets redirected into execution. Life feels lighter not because it became easier, but because you stopped resisting effort. Resistance is what exhausts people, not exertion. There is a reason dependable individuals intimidate without threatening. Their presence carries weight because it is backed by competence. They do not need to announce credibility. It shows in posture, timing, and restraint. They have met themselves under strain and survived. That experience builds a quiet authority no speech can imitate. Others sense it instinctively. Chaos softens around those who can handle responsibility without complaint. Delayed results confuse the impatient. Effort compounds invisibly before it compounds publicly. Early stages feel unrewarded because the structure is still forming. Quitting here feels logical. That logic destroys potential. Those who persist understand a critical truth. Growth often happens beneath perception. By the time results are obvious, the foundation is already unshakable. Observers see the outcome. Builders remember the process. Suffering without direction breaks people. Effort with purpose fortifies them. The difference lies in intention. When you choose strain as a tool rather than endure it as punishment, it transforms you. Muscles grow through stress. Character follows the same rule. Avoidance feels protective but slowly erodes capability. Facing difficulty builds tolerance. Over time, challenges that once overwhelmed you become warm-ups. That progression is not dramatic, it is earned. Respect from others is a side effect, not a goal. People respond to reliability because it lowers uncertainty. They trust those who show up prepared. That trust creates opportunity. Opportunity rewards readiness. This loop favors those who invest early and often. Complaints do not enter the equation. Only contribution does. This is why arguments about fairness rarely change outcomes. Reality does not negotiate, it responds. There comes a point when effort becomes part of your self-concept. You no longer see it as something you force yourself to do. It becomes how you maintain order in your life. Chaos feels foreign, idleness creates discomfort. This inversion surprises people who still associate effort with suffering. For you, stagnation becomes the real pain. That is the turning point, when growth feels natural and avoidance feels costly. Time eventually exposes everyone. Pretenders fade, talkers stall, builders continue. Years later, the distance between those paths is impossible to ignore. Action teaches the nervous system faster than any affirmation ever could. When effort produces a measurable result, even a small one, the brain updates its internal model of who you are. Doubt collapses not because you argued with it, but because it ran out of evidence. This is how belief actually forms. Not through thinking, not through motivation, but through repeated verification. Each task completed under resistance becomes a data point. Each problem solved under pressure recalibrates your self-image. Over time, the mind stops questioning capability and starts expecting execution. That expectation changes posture, tone, timing, and decision speed. The transformation looks psychological, but it is mechanical. You did the work. The brain adjusted accordingly. Nothing mystical, just cause and effect operating without mercy or sentiment. Proof does something emotion cannot sustain. Emotion fluctuates. Proof accumulates. One is volatile, the other compounds. When you rely on hype, your confidence spikes and crashes. When you rely on evidence, your confidence stabilizes. That stability is what separates people who perform under pressure from those who freeze. The brain trusts patterns. Show it a pattern of completion, and it will stop triggering hesitation. Show it a pattern of avoidance, and it will amplify fear to protect consistency. This is why effort feels heavy at first and lighter later. You are not becoming tougher. You are becoming predictable to yourself. Predictability creates internal safety. Safety frees attention. Free attention increases output. The loop closes. There is a brutal distinction between labor that sharpens leverage and labor that burns energy without return. Smart effort compounds. Empty exertion exhausts. One builds systems. The other builds fatigue. The difference lies in intention and feedback. Leveraged effort targets bottlenecks, constraints, and repeatable actions. It asks what moves the needle and ignores the rest. Mindless grind avoids thinking and substitutes volume for direction. That path creates soreness, not progress. Your brain learns nothing useful from wasted motion. It only learns endurance for inefficiency. Real progress teaches strategy alongside stamina. That is why effective builders review, adjust, and refine. They are not allergic to thinking. They pair it with doing. Self-doubt survives only in the absence of receipts. The moment you collect enough receipts, it loses authority. You stop asking whether you can and start asking how fast. That shift changes everything. Questions evolve. Energy reallocates. Instead of spiraling internally, attention moves outward toward optimization. This is not arrogance. It is calibration. You know what works because you have tested it. You know what fails because you paid attention. That clarity cannot be shaken by opinion. Opinions bounce off proof like rain off steel. When pressure arrives, your nervous system does not debate. It executes familiar sequences. Momentum becomes inevitable when action feeds belief and belief feeds action. Each reinforces the other. This is why people who work consistently seem calm in chaos. Their nervous systems have been trained by repetition. They have already survived discomfort voluntarily. Unexpected stress does not shock them. It feels familiar. The brain recognizes the territory. That recognition prevents panic. Panic is what drains cognitive bandwidth. Calm preserves it. Preserved bandwidth allows problem solving. The cycle favors those who prepared early. Others call it luck. It never was. Clarity emerges when effort is paired with reflection. You do not need to work harder, you need to work cleaner. Clean work produces signal. Signal guides adjustment. Adjustment improves leverage. This loop turns effort into intelligence. Over time, intelligence reduces wasted motion. Less waste means higher return per unit of energy. That efficiency compounds confidence faster than raw volume ever could. The mind respects efficiency because it conserves resources. Show it that your actions produce disproportionate results, and it will back you with full force. Fear loses relevance when competence rises. Fear thrives on uncertainty. Competence reduces uncertainty through familiarity. Familiarity comes only from exposure. Exposure requires action. This is why avoidance feels safe but creates anxiety. You never give the brain new data, so it keeps recycling old warnings. Once you step into the arena and survive, the warning system recalibrates. It stops screaming. Silence follows. That silence is not emptiness. It is trust. Trust earned through repetition. People misunderstand confidence because they think it is emotional. It is logistical. You either have systems that work or you do not. When your systems work, confidence follows automatically. When they fail, no amount of positive thinking can compensate. The solution is never to inflate belief. The solution is to improve systems, improve inputs, improve sequencing, improve feedback loops. Do that long enough and belief becomes irrelevant. You no longer need it. You have structure. Every serious operator learns this distinction eventually. Effort without direction creates exhaustion. Direction without effort creates fantasy. The fusion of the two creates progress. When effort is guided by insight, it multiplies. When insight is tested through effort, it sharpens. This is the discipline that separates builders from dreamers. One group produces artifacts. The other produces explanations. Reality only rewards one of them. Confidence never arrives at the starting line. It emerges only after the body has been placed under demand and survived. The nervous system does not respond to speeches or intention. It responds to experience. When you act despite resistance, the brain records survival, not theory. That record becomes internal authority. This is why people who chase confidence before effort remain restless. They are trying to harvest fruit before planting. The system refuses. Every completed task adds a brick to an internal foundation. Over time, that foundation supports posture, voice, timing, and restraint. None of that can be faked. When pressure rises, only lived proof speaks. Effort precedes belief because biology insists on verification. This order cannot be reversed without collapse. Shortcuts feel tempting because they promise relief without cost. Yet relief without cost never satisfies. The brain recognizes unearned progress instantly. It flags it as unstable. That is why hollow wins create anxiety instead of pride. You sense the fragility beneath the surface. Deep down, you know it cannot hold. Real assurance settles slowly because it is built slowly. Each repetition reinforces reliability. Reliability forms trust. Trust produces calm. Calm enables clarity. The sequence matters. Skip the first step and the rest wobble. People who avoid effort often mistake noise for momentum. They move constantly yet remain unchanged. The absence of real strain leaves no imprint. Nothing registers. Nothing anchors. Nothing lasts. Earned confidence has weight. It changes how you move through rooms without announcement. It sharpens decision speed because hesitation has already been burned away in practice. You stop wondering whether you can handle pressure because you already have. That memory lives in the nervous system, not the intellect. It shows up when stakes rise. Others may panic or posture. You adjust and proceed. This difference looks invisible to outsiders, but it is unmistakable in outcomes. Quiet competence always outperforms loud assurance. The former is forged through repetition. The latter dissolves under contact. Avoidance trains fragility. Each time you step back from difficulty, the brain learns that retreat is the solution. Over time, fear circuits strengthen and tolerance shrinks. The opposite happens with exposure. When you choose effort, the brain updates its risk assessment. Threat diminishes, capacity expands. This is not bravado, it is conditioning. The mind adapts to what you repeatedly survive. Effort is the teacher. Comfort teaches nothing useful. It preserves the present and erodes the future. Growth demands friction. Without it, confidence never matures beyond fantasy. There is no dignity in pretending to believe in yourself. Dignity comes from doing what belief alone cannot accomplish. Work replaces imagination with evidence. Evidence stabilizes identity. You stop asking who you could be and start behaving as someone dependable. That shift simplifies life. Decisions become obvious. Energy stops leaking into self-debate. Execution becomes the default. This internal alignment feels powerful because it removes contradiction. You are no longer split between intention and action. Unity returns. Unity produces momentum. People who rely on shortcuts often chase validation to compensate. They need external approval because internal proof is missing. That hunger never ends. Each compliment fades quickly because it is unsupported by reality. In contrast, those who earn their ground feel no urgency to explain themselves. Their certainty does not fluctuate with opinion. It rests on repetition. They know exactly what they have done and what they can repeat. That knowledge is immovable. It does not spike or crash. It endures. Discipline feels heavy only until it becomes familiar. Familiarity changes perception. What once felt demanding begins to feel normal. This is where genuine assurance forms. You no longer celebrate effort, you expect it. Expectations shape identity. Identity shapes outcomes. The loop closes naturally. This is why sustainable growth looks boring to spectators. There is no drama in consistency. Yet consistency is where transformation hides. Drama distracts. Routine builds. Effort also sharpens judgment. When you work through difficulty, you learn what matters and what wastes time. That discernment improves leverage. You stop spending energy on actions that do not return value. Efficiency rises. Output improves. Confidence deepens because your actions now produce predictable results. Predictability creates control. Control calms the system. Calm preserves focus. Focus compounds results. None of this happens through shortcuts. Shortcuts bypass learning. Learning is the point. Self-belief that comes from effort does not inflate ego. It grounds it. You become aware of limits without fearing them. Limits become training targets, not threats. This mindset keeps growth alive. There is no ceiling because there is no illusion. Only work remains. Work reveals truth. Truth informs adjustment. Adjustment leads forward. The cycle sustains itself quietly. Pressure enters the body first as alarm. Muscles tighten, breath shortens, attention narrows. The nervous system interprets demand as threat because it has not yet learned the outcome. This is the price of beginning. During effort, stress chemicals rise to mobilize energy, sharpen focus, and keep you alert. Nothing about this phase feels pleasant. That discomfort is information, not a verdict. When the task is completed, something profound happens. The chemistry flips. Relief floods the system. Dopamine rises not because the work vanished, but because the brain registers survival and completion. It marks the sequence as meaningful. This teaches a lesson deeper than motivation. The lesson says pain leads somewhere. Over time, that lesson rewires expectation. Effort stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like a corridor toward reward. This is how endurance is trained, not through slogans, but through repeated cycles of strain followed by earned relief. The brain learns cause and effect with ruthless accuracy. Completion rewrites memory. The nervous system catalogs experiences in patterns. If effort ends in abandonment, Stress stays unresolved and the brain labels the activity as dangerous. If effort ends in completion, relief seals the loop. That seal matters. It tells the brain that stress has an endpoint. Once an endpoint exists, fear diminishes. This is why unfinished work haunts people. The chemistry never resolves. The loop stays open. Those who finish consistently feel calmer not because they face less pressure, but because their bodies trust resolution. That trust lowers baseline anxiety. Lower anxiety frees cognitive bandwidth. With more bandwidth, performance improves. The cycle feeds itself. This is not willpower. It is conditioning. The system adapts to what you repeatedly prove. Finish enough difficult tasks and your brain stops panicking at the start. It anticipates the reward beyond the discomfort. Avoidance teaches the opposite lesson. When you escape effort, stress spikes briefly and then fades without completion. The brain learns that retreat removes discomfort faster than persistence. That lesson is powerful and destructive. It wires the system to flee whenever pressure appears. Over time, even small demands feel overwhelming. Dopamine becomes associated with distraction instead of accomplishment. Relief comes from escape rather than execution. This is why avoidance feels addictive. It hijacks the same chemistry without building capacity. The cost arrives later as restlessness, doubt, and fragility. In contrast, those who endure learn to associate relief with finishing. Their dopamine comes from closure, not escape. That distinction determines trajectory. One path shrinks tolerance. The other expands it steadily. Training the brain requires repetition, not intensity. One heroic effort teaches little. Consistent completion teaches everything. Each time stress converts into reward, the neural pathway strengthens. The mind begins to expect relief after effort. That expectation reduces resistance at the starting line. Beginning feels lighter because the system trusts the process. This trust is earned. No amount of visualization can replace it. Only action followed by completion installs the pattern. Over months, the body responds differently to challenge. Heart rate stabilizes faster. Breathing recovers sooner. Focus sharpens instead of scattering. These changes are physical, they are not attitudes. They are adaptations shaped by chemistry and repetition. There is a reason disciplined people appear calm under pressure. Their nervous systems have been trained to recognize stress as temporary. They have crossed the bridge enough times to know it holds. Others feel overwhelmed because their systems have no record of safe passage. Every challenge feels new and threatening. The difference lies not in courage, but in conditioning. Finish what you start often enough and your brain stops sounding alarms. It conserves energy for execution. That conservation feels like confidence. It is actually efficiency. Effort without completion creates confusion. Completion without effort creates emptiness. Only the combination produces satisfaction that lasts. The satisfaction comes from alignment between expectation and outcome. You expected discomfort. You endured it. You finished. Chemistry rewards that honesty. This reward is not euphoria. It is quiet stability. That stability compounds. It becomes self-trust. Self-trust simplifies decisions. You stop negotiating with yourself. You act because you know relief waits on the other side. This reduces internal friction dramatically. Life feels clearer not because it became easier, but because your system learned the pattern. The body always keeps score. It remembers what you do under pressure. It remembers whether you quit or complete. Those memories shape future responses automatically. This is why promises to yourself matter. Each kept promise teaches the brain that discomfort is survivable and worthwhile. Each broken promise teaches the opposite. Over time, the ledger fills. Confidence grows from entries, not intentions. Stress followed by completion deposits credit. Stress followed by escape creates debt. Chemistry enforces this accounting relentlessly. Understanding this removes confusion about motivation. You do not wait to feel driven. You create drive by finishing. The drive arrives after the work because the brain rewards what proves useful. This order cannot be reversed. When people try to feel inspired first, they remain stuck. Inspiration is the aftertaste of execution. Once you accept this, resistance loses leverage. You no longer ask how you feel. You ask what needs finishing. The system follows. Effort trains perception as well as chemistry. Once the brain associates discomfort with reward, pain loses its threat value. It becomes a signal pointing toward progress. This reframing is not philosophical. It is neurological. The system updates its prediction model. Pain no longer predicts loss. It predicts relief after completion. That prediction changes behavior instantly. You move toward challenge instead of away from it. This is how capacity expands without force. When the loop closes often enough, work stops lying. It tells you exactly where you stand. No excuses survive. No fantasies remain. Only patterns speak. Patterns reveal truth. Truth removes doubt. This is why endurance outlasts motivation and why chemistry rewards those who persist. Stress converts to dopamine when you finish because the brain honors follow through. Over time, that honor becomes identity. Hard work never lies.